interesting thing about technology with real estate is it's always evolving and always changing. You know, I've talked a lot on the show about the likelihood of virtual reality changing the game for real estate. I think that, you know, with some of the unique things we do, like, you know, Matterport 3D tours and video walkthrough tours and, you know, allowing people to really get a good understanding of a house without actually having to step foot in it. We sometimes get home sellers are a little bit concerned at, you know, hey, look, you know, I sold my home 5 years ago and I had all these showings and I'm not getting as many showings today. And that's just the reality of technology replacing the in-person showings. Now, there's always going to be some people that do it, and certainly you still have to look at a house before you buy it. But I think technology's allowed people to wean that list down to a much smaller list. And you know, so consumers, home sellers, when they're working with their agents, need to focus more on what the online statistics look like. How many page views, how many video views, how many tour views, versus necessarily the in-person showings, especially if they're going from a framework of comparing it to a past experience before technology was as important. Because today it's all about the technology. It's all about the photos and the videos. People just aren't looking at as many homes. You know, well, there are some that do. I mean, we've got the buyers that go out there and look at 100 houses, but the reality is there are fewer showings today before an offer shows up.
Yeah, and I've heard Robert say before too, you know, if someone's actually at your house and inside it, it's a second viewing.
Correct.
You know,
Yeah.
they've already seen it online, so this is technically
At
least
and especially with our technology. Yeah, with us, that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, I was explaining that to a seller yesterday. I mean, a lot of people that are actually coming into his house, it's their second showing or their third showing, or they really, I mean, our goal is we want to make them fall in love with it online. We want them to be ready to make an offer when they get there. I worked with some people last week, and you know, they were from Philadelphia, so they were from out of the area. I mean, they pretty much knew the house that they wanted when they came down, and they put it under contract. And she had been looking at the house for a month. And when she got there, she walked in and she said, "This is just like I pictured." And by the end of the day, we were putting it under contract.
Yeah, and I think that's the reality is consumers today, home buyers, home sellers, technology has changed it. And again, if you're dealing with a framework of having, you know, we get it all the time where people say, "Oh, it's the 7th home I've sold. I know how to do this," and you don't. It changed. Like, you know, if you sold a home 7 years ago, or even 3 years ago, it's drastically different. The process, the how you create demand, the technology, the number of showings, it isn't the same. You know, technology has changed it. So if you sold a bunch of homes in the non-technology era, it's not going to be the same. You know, and so you can't necessarily assume that, you know, it's just like anything, you know, time changes it, technology brings, you know, about a whole new thing. You know, I don't think people 10 years ago would have ever thought that more and more people aren't going to have cable at their house. You know, I don't think people thought that they would be able to click a button and download a movie instead of having to go to Redbox or you know, Blockbuster even. You know, I mean, it's just technology changes everything, and so, you know, selling your home or buying a home is no different today in terms of the change with technology. It's drastically different than what it used to be, though. You know, so technology just didn't play a major part in it. So, you know, whether you're buying or selling, understand that is, you know, an important aspect of it. And if you're selling and you're dealing with somebody that doesn't understand that, you know, how to use social media, how to, you know, show the property the right way, how to use a 3D tour, drone photos. You know, Robert, we go up against agents all the time that are still operating as if it's 2007, you know, when they're marketing a home.
Yeah, I mean, there's agents that still send flyers out. I mean, it's totally different experience. I mean, you sent us somebody last night that reached out to you and found our properties on LinkedIn. I mean, somebody who's not social media savvy, I mean, a consumer's not able to find them on social media platforms. I mean, what kind of marketing is that agent really doing for you? That flyer, you know, that used to be something that could be great. I mean, 10 years ago, that's what we were talking about doing. Hey, we need to send these flyers out to this box and put them in there. I mean, you know, then we went to QR codes, and then now we're past that, and stuff is so beyond the basics that it was that if you're not constantly running to keep up, then you're kind of behind.
Yeah, and I think the same thing goes for print advertising. I mean, let's face it, I see people do it, and I just got to tell you, I don't believe it works. I don't believe anyone's using that to find a home to buy. I think they're using it, you know, when they go to the bathroom, and that's about it. You know, I mean, realistically, people just aren't searching for homes that way anymore. And if that's a major proponent of the advertising campaign that someone's pushing to you, you have to think to yourself, when is the last time that you bought something from a magazine or a flyer? And if you can't answer positively that you've bought something recently from a magazine or flyer, then then you probably shouldn't trust in the marketing plan of somebody that's relying so heavily on that. It has changed. Technology, all the listing portals, websites, 3D tours, drones, coming soon programs, you name it. That's where it's at today. It's not about print advertising. It's not about flyers. It's not about putting it in newspapers or magazines. It just isn't. It just doesn't work anymore. People just don't respond that way. And I can't say it never works, but the likelihood of it working is so slim compared to spending that money, somewhere else. You're hiring someone and you expect them to have a marketing budget to be able to get enough eyes on the home to create a sale. You want them to spend that marketing budget in the place where the most eyes are, and if they're not, then you're missing out.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Yeah, I think when you look at it from a home buyer's perspective too, especially like the out-of-town buyers, that's so prevalent right now for us.
I mean, especially in our market, we have a large military presence in some areas in our market. I mean, we've sold homes,
Sight unseen.
Countless times sight unseen, or they're coming down just for the inspection, they're putting it under contract beforehand. I mean, these are people that they really want to find a house, they like the area already. I mean, they're ready to find something, and they're judging by everything that they see out there. That's somebody who's not going to be able to drive by a property and find it by looking at a sign or going to an open house. I mean, this is somebody who's finding the home, and they're only going to fall in love with a home if they're able to find it through online advertising.
Yeah. And I think the same thing goes for, not just the military crowd, but we're a destination market. A lot of people buy vacation homes. A lot of people buy them to Airbnb them. A lot of people buy them to use them. I can think of numerous times when we sold luxury homes to people that were outside of the country that would have never bought them had the job been done so remarkably well with the amount of online advertising that was done, with the quality of the photos and the videos and the walkthrough and the 3D tour, all those things that really, really matter when it comes to the real estate space to get exposure for a home. And again, as a home buyer, they appreciate that. They lean on that. They need to see that information because they can't drive by the house as easily. They can't go look at it as easily. They're looking at it from some other state or some other country. And it's important. I can't tell you how many times that we've had home buyers that would have probably bought other homes had the agent done a better job of showcasing it online.
It's not just about passive advertising either. I mean, the MLS has an agreement to port a lot of those things to online platforms, but how is the agent actually getting in touch with those buyers? How is the buyer actually getting information about the property? I mean, who is out there actually advertising the property? I mean, you have to be much more than just passive advertising.
And that's a really good point. And I think this is something that a lot of people don't understand, and it's amazing to me. But the majority of real estate search traffic today is Zillow, Realtor.com, and Trulia. And so, when you go to Zillow, Trulia, and Realtor.com, a lot of consumers go into it with the impression or assumption that when they send an inquiry through that website, that it's going to the agent that has the listing for the home. And that is a misnomer. You have to pay for that. So, and it's very expensive. We pay hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to those websites to get our listings exposure, to get all the leads and contacts on our own listings so we can give them the most appropriate information and get back to them. Because the reality is, a lot of agents, and I don't know the stats here, but I would guess more than half of the agents do not pay Zillow and Realtor.com.
Well, and actually it's a hard thing to even explain to a person when you go into their house and you're explaining to them about how you're going to sell their home, because Johnny Realtor also came in and told them they were going to be on Zillow. So explaining that to people, it is a difficult concept to explain that just because your house is listed doesn't mean there's any way for the realtor to get in touch with the buyer.
And just because it's listed doesn't mean it's listed the right way.
Right.
So for example, your house, Realtor A, with Realtor A, Realtor B. With Realtor A, the Duncan Duo, your house is listed, the listing's branded to us, and all the contacts, all the inquiries, all the questions come directly to us. We have the ability to respond to them and have a greater chance of selling your home when we're communicating with the people directly. Realtor B doesn't pay Zillow for that exposure, so the inquiries on that property Go to just any realtor that decides to pay for that marketing impression. Not even the same realtor every time. It rotates between a whole bunch of different realtors. Like, you could email once and then 3 days later email again. It's a completely different realtor getting that inquiry. So imagine the challenge with that. You know, you've told this agent all these amazing things about your home, and you want to make sure that those things get focused on and showcased, and then the person that you end up getting in touch with doesn't have any vested interest in selling that home and knows nothing about it. You know, it really is amazing that people don't understand that. But just because your house is on one of those websites with one agency doesn't mean it's on it the same way with another one, and it doesn't mean that that agency actually gets inquiries on your property. Like, they could go to some random person which has no vested interest in selling your home, but just selling them any home. So, you know, when you compare that, it's a really big deal. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just last month, I mean, I was looking at our medium numbers yesterday. I mean, we got several hundred leads just from Zillow of people inquiring about properties. And
yeah.
If we did not pay for that, we would have no idea anything about those people.
Right. Those people will be talking to other people. We sell homes all the time, you know, directly through those websites because we communicate directly with the consumer, and we're able to get them the information that they need instead of it bouncing around to a bunch of different agents. So we're going to continue this conversation. You know, we're going to talk about next.